There are certain places on Earth where the ground rumbles ominously. Even though there are no earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, this strange noise comes from the very core of the Earth. It's the sound of magma pushing against the Earth's crust like an enormous hand trying to push open a lid on an ancient pressure cooker. If it breaks through, the consequences would be catastrophic. In today's episode, we'll find out what's going on in these places. What do scientists think about the possibility of these volcanoes erupting? And most importantly, what will happen to our planet if that happens? We'll answer all these questions. Just don't forget to hit that like button before you leave. Supervolcanoes, 50 times more powerful than ordinary ones. Volcanoes are the Earth's way of blowing off some steam, so to speak. They release substances from deep inside our planet onto the surface, and sometimes they do it in such a violent manner that whole cities can be wiped off the face of the Earth in a matter of seconds. You know what I mean? Pompeii, Herculaneum, etc. However, even those deadly eruptions are nothing compared to what a supervolcano is capable of. A supereruption is at least 1,000 times more powerful than a regular one. To put it another way, supervolcanoes are 50 times more powerful than ordinary volcanoes. And while regular volcanoes erupt every year, supervolcanoes do it once every several 100,000 years. Still, they've shaped the Earth's surface the way they have. So just imagine what they could do to our modern cities. For example, the Toba supereruption in Indonesia 74,000 years ago ejected 2,800 cubic kilometers of ash and pumice. That's as much as 3 million Olympic swimming pools filled to the brim. In addition, the volume of the eruption column reached 35 kilometers, which is 40% higher than Mount Everest. Scientists say that the consequences of such an eruption would be disastrous not only for people, but also for the entire biosphere. Even now, thousands of years after the Toba event, we're still suffering from its consequences. Researchers believe that the supereruption caused an ice age and nearly wiped out humanity from the face of the Earth. But the worst thing is that scientists have found evidence that similar eruptions could occur again. Where are these giants hiding? Volcanologists identify supervolcanoes by their calderas, vast crater-like depressions that form during large eruptions. Some of them are so big that several American football fields could fit inside. Here are the 5 largest calderas known to science. Villa Rica, Costa Rica. The Villa Rica volcano is a perfect example of a caldera. At the top of the Stratovolcano, there's a 1 kilometer wide and 300 meters deep crater formed after a powerful explosion in the 16th century. It was here that the most dangerous lava dome in Central America was born. In 1999, it slid down the slope, triggered by heavy rains, and destroyed 2 local villages. Now, almost 6,000 people had to be evacuated. In 1932, a strong earthquake shook Nicaragua. The edges of the Masaya caldera collapsed, forming a huge funnel. To this day, the caldera remains one of the most active volcanoes in the country. Its crater is filled with boiling lava and spewed smoke into the sky. During the last eruption in 1999, fountains of molten lava up to 60 meters high erupted from the crater. Yellowstone National Park, USA. The Yellowstone supervolcano consists of 3 calderas that formed over a period of about 2 million years. The most recent eruption occurred 640,000 years ago. It ejected 2,500 cubic kilometers of material, which is 1,000 times more than the Krakatoa blast. It left behind a 45 by 25 mile caldera filled with a lake. This place is considered the most potentially dangerous in the United States. Volcanologists closely monitor its activity because there's a chance it might erupt again. The U.S. Geological Survey maintains a seismographic network around the perimeter of the caldera. The awakened giant could cause major damage. Magma is slowly accumulating under the Yellowstone caldera, and when it erupts, the consequences could be devastating. Most likely, the eruption will destroy the nearby towns and the thrown ash will cover the entire western United States. La Garita Caldera, Colorado, USA. The La Garita Caldera is the largest volcanic structure in North America. Its dimensions are simply staggering. The crater formed 27.8 million years ago after a massive eruption. It's 11 by 18 miles wide and sits at an elevation of 4,000 meters above sea level. And that's not counting the surrounding mountains. By comparison, the famous Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania is smaller than the El Garita caldera by almost 4 times. Long Valley, California, USA. The Long Valley caldera stretches across the eastern part of the Sierra Nevada mountains. The first stage of its formation dates back 750,000 years ago, but the major eruption occurred 35,000 years later. About 600 cubic kilometers of material was ejected into the atmosphere during the Long Valley eruption. Today, the Mammoth Lakes Basin is located within its caldera, and although scientists consider this region potentially dangerous, tourists still come here to ski or take a dip in the hot springs. Looks like they're not worried about the possible consequences of an eruption. Lake Toba, Indonesia. In the Indonesian province of North Sumatra, there's Lake Toba, the site of the world's largest supervolcanic eruption, which occurred about 74,000 years ago. According to experts, 2,800 cubic kilometers of material was thrown into the atmosphere during the eruption. This substance formed a layer of ash 6 meters thick, covering the entire region. Eruptions of this magnitude occur once every 50,000 years, and the Toba eruption is considered the largest in the past 2 million years. Scientists believe that it caused the ice age that lasted until 11,700 years ago. There's a theory that the small population of early humans survived thanks to the mountainous regions of what is now China. They were protected from the worst effects of the eruption there. Will humanity survive if the giant wakes up? Scientists use a Vase scale to assess the magnitude of volcanic eruptions. It ranges from 0 to 8. Each level reflects a doubling in height of the eruption column and an 8-fold increase in the volume of ejected volcanic material. Ordinary volcanoes usually reach levels 1 to 3. Level 4 is already considered severe. 5 is destructive, 6 is global, and level 7 is cataclysmic. The higher the level, the more terrible the consequences of the eruption. So what would happen if a supervolcano erupted on level 8? First, a cloud of smoke and ash would rise many kilometers up and block the excess of sunlight to the Earth's surface. Plants would die and the temperature on the planet would drop significantly. Then rain would begin, only instead of water, it would be acid rain. Volcanic ash mixed with water vapor would rise higher and higher into the atmosphere, forming a thick gray cloud that would reflect sunlight. It would lead to a long and severe ice age. Pyroclastic flows would ravage the surrounding area, leveling everything in their path. Lava flows would move through entire cities, turning them to ashes. Explosions would trigger earthquakes and tsunamis. People would suffer from breathing problems due to the high concentration of toxic gases in the air. Ash could stay in the atmosphere for several years, leading to crop failure around the world. In short, life on Earth would become impossible. What do scientists say? Scientists argue about the likelihood of such a large-scale eruption for centuries to come. The Yellowstone supervolcano is considered the most potentially dangerous. Its awakening could have devastating consequences for the United States. However, volcanologists disagree about the likelihood of an eruption. Some claim that it could occur in the next 600,000 years, while others say in the next 1 million years. Others argue that it's unlikely to happen anytime soon. But there's a second opinion. For example, geophysicist Rick Wold admitted that he couldn't rule out the possibility of an eruption during the next few million years. The thing is that the Yellowstone supervolcano is located in a seismically active zone. It regularly experiences minor tremors that could theoretically lead to a major eruption. Fortunately, experts agree that even if the volcano does wake up, we'll have plenty of time to prepare for the disaster. Minor earthquakes and increased gas emissions will serve as a warning, and then people will need to quickly evacuate nearby towns. Of course, it won't be easy to predict the consequences of such an eruption, but it's still better to be prepared in advance. In general, it's hard to say whether our planet will be able to survive the awakening of a supervolcano. After all, none of the currently existing technologies will help us stop the eruption. Perhaps the best option would be to follow the example of the ancient Romans, who deified their volcanoes and made them gods of salvation and healing. Would you like to see a volcano god in your pantheon? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, press the like button. Thanks for watching. See you later.